Hi everyone, Teresa Aker here from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. It's my privilege today to bring you Kevin Elworth. How you doing, Kevin?
Doing quite well.
Good. I'm just going to do a quick bio about you and then I'm going to come back to you. So Kevin Elworth is a renowned speaker who delights in making the complex simple with his storytelling style. He's a fan of audiences everywhere who leave challenged, encouraged, and motivated in their pursuit of what comes next. His forthcoming book, Breaking the I Can't Cycle, is sure to compel you toward your own determination and drive to accomplish more. We have lots to talk about today, Kevin.
Sure do. Thanks for having me today.
My pleasure. I'm so glad you're here. So where can we start? Let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
How
Well,
did
I'll
you
tell you
get
where I'm
started
from.
in all of this
I'll tell
process?
you where I'm from, tell you about my family, and then we
Good.
can progress from there. So, right now we live in South Central PA, and we're still trying to warm up from winter.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true.
my wife and I have been married for 22 years, and we have five children.
Nice.
Excuse me, one biological son and four adoptive kids.
Beautiful.
And I always quantify that by saying that our kids are not adopted kids. They're just our kids. We're adoptive parents, and we just love them just the same. They came to us through foster care, through private adoption, and we have other kids that we fostered, and they went somewhere else. And we're thankful for all those moments and just the way that God grew our family. And it's just been a fun adventure.
Albert, that's amazing. What a wonderful story so far. And
Yeah,
adoption's great. I have stepchildren and they're not adopted, but they're stepchildren. And you know what? It doesn't matter. We love them all the same, don't we?
that's right. That's right.
Absolutely. So well done. Nice family. So
Thank
let's
you.
start with what were you doing before and how did you get into coaching? What
Mhm.
kind of coaching you do and how can you help our audience? Let's talk about some ideas today.
I love it. So I was a pastor for 14 years.
Okay.
My wife and I were quote unquote full-time ministry since we got out of college.
Yeah.
And we did missions, Latin American missions for a time. We lived in Mexico and in Costa Rica and those kind of things. Then we moved to Pennsylvania in 2010, where I was a pastor for 14 years and loved that. But in 2022, God told me, hey, your time here is done. It's time for you to leave and get out of ministry. And that really caught me off guard. I didn't really see that one coming, mostly because it scared me. I'd always ask the question, what does a pastor do when he's no longer a pastor? And wrestled with that one for a little bit. But I don't remember. It was about 10 years ago. I did like a self-assessment class. I went through like a self-discovery class, I guess would be. And I discovered that my true purpose was revolves around leadership development and helping people accomplish and experience everything that they have in mind for their lives. And so I found myself just doing that. Even in my pastor role, I was just resorting back to let's help you discover who you are and what you want. And so when it came to this point of, hey, get out of ministry, stop pastoring a church, I really didn't spend any time analyzing what I was going to do next. Instantly, I joined the John Maxwell team, got a Maxwell coaching certification, and launched into that world of business development and leadership development and coaching. Now, I don't do life coaching. I work with business owners and I also really focus on ministry. So I'm working with pastors to try to figure out how do you advance your church forward and what are the places that you're stuck on. And a lot of that can come through coaching. They have no idea the implications of the possibilities that can be found through some really well-crafted questions. That's really what coaching is. So that's what I spend my time doing right now.
That's fantastic. So I have a few thoughts in there. One, you have a calling to do ministry. That's
Mhm.
wonderful. But then all of a sudden you get a thought that, okay, the ministry, the message has been sent. I'm not doing it anymore. And now you have to pursue something, but you just naturally go into leadership, which makes total sense because you're doing it in the ministry.
Yeah.
What I want to say though is as you're doing, and John Maxwell's course, I'm very familiar with, have not taken it, but I've actually had guests on my show that have taken it and they
Good.
love this. They absolutely love that course and they've done very well with it. So it truly is doing great things. So my question, long story, even longer. As you're doing the leadership and you're combining the ministry side of it, because I always like to say people can have a toolbox. And as they
Mhm.
do these careers, you are putting tools in your box, and now you go into the next career and you've got more tools, and now you're doing leadership from all of that, which is natural. When you do your corporations, are you going to them? Are you doing it online? Are you doing one-on-one? How are you doing that?
Actually, yes. So
All of it.
all of that, to be honest with
Okay.
you. I haven't worked with corporations or companies or whatever in an online setting like this, other than if I'm coaching with the CEO or the director or something like that, we'll do coaching via Zoom. But frequently, in fact, one of my favorite things to do is like a group workshop or a company workshop. I did one of those, I don't know, probably a month ago, where they bring all of their team together and we spent 2 or 3 hours in a workshop setting and just really enhancing team unity and development, which really just fosters better communication. And this goes regardless of, I don't care what thing you're working on, communication is the lifeblood of any company. And just like your blood, if it strangles or if it doesn't move, your body dies. The same thing is true with communication. You take communication out of a company, that company will die faster than anything else. And so, how do we make sure that communication advances and is as healthy as it can be? That's an art, and it takes some tweaking to get to that spot. It's probably one of my favorite things to do.
I would you speak very well and you communicate very well, so that's first
Thank
in
you.
your an asset for you. And of course, being a minister, you would be able to do that. I'm thinking though also with people moving back home for quite a while over COVID, obviously people stayed at home all the time. Now we have a hybrid situation and perhaps some of them are going back to work. Are you finding the ones that stayed home are having a more difficult time because they may have been a bit more isolated and struggling with going back to the work environment, or is it pretty natural?
It depends on the personality. I think there's personality types that would have difficulty with that or that would embrace a at-home setting. By and large, most people are like they're craving the connection with other people. And so they want that like atmosphere, office camaraderie type thing.
Right.
And yeah, it actually is more, it's probably the most beneficial thing they could do.
I'm thinking, I'm agreeing with you, first of
Yeah.
all. I'm also thinking for the leadership side that you're helping the leaders growing and growing their teams, that being in an office setting, I'm thinking, it's just my opinion, would be better for the leaders as well. Not that
Oh,
they can't do it online, but having the camaraderie and the understanding that they're all in it together kind of thing,
right.
I think would be better for them. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%, 100%. It was like swimming upstream, trying to get people and teams to move in the same direction together. And
Right.
then I get the fact that it is possible to work from an office or an at-home office setting, but there is so much productivity that is lost in those moments in between where people just they can't stay focused on one thing given the fact that they're in their home setting. It's almost impossible. How do you deal with that? Honestly, here's the thing. My brother never works in an office. In fact, is here in Pennsylvania, works at a company in California and never leaves his home. And yet for that kind of a scenario, an at-home office is advantageous for him. It's the only thing he can do.
Sure.
So I get there's pockets of opportunity for this to work, but by and large, it's going to be like you're going to have some camaraderie. You need those like water cooler moments that are going to help unify your team and advance it.
Yeah, I understand that, Kevin. Now I'm thinking also with the leadership side, because you're helping with leaders, what
Mhm.
kind of, could you talk about some tips that you can give some leaders today of where you're working in that field, how you could help them out?
Yes, I can. Um, I would say this because I bump into this quite frequently. The CEO, the leadership of any company, they're leaders and they know they're leaders. And some of them are in terms of wanting to invite or invest in someone like me coming to them and helping them. Some of them aren't. Some of them are in a position where they're like, I am a leader. I'm a good leader. I know how to develop my team. And my pushback with them or my conversation with them is always along the lines of you as a leader have to know that your primary focus is about moving your company forward. And so naturally, the majority of your mindset, your thinking is going to be moved in like, how do I advance my product? not in terms of how do I develop my team. That's the beauty of bringing someone like me in, is because you can almost outsource for a minute something that I can come in and say, hey, did you see this and this? And you wouldn't be aware of that thing. Why? Because it doesn't deal with your product. It deals with your communication and your leadership and your team dynamics. And honestly, something as simple as a workshop and then some residual coaching that can go along with it will actually propel your team so far. We have this amazing resource that I bring to a company called the Leadership Game, and it literally is a game. We sit around the table, roll the dice, draw a card, and it produces a level of communication among your team that you would not otherwise facilitate. And then it gives your team an opportunity to vocalize something that they've been wanting to say for a long time, but they just didn't know where to say it or how to say it, or even if it was a safe environment to say.
Yeah.
And now you have some things to work with, and it does so much to improve the culture of leadership development more than anything else I've experienced. It's amazing.
Kevin, if I could circle back, because you're right, there's a lot of politically correct speaking. There's a lot of perhaps people holding back because the work environment has changed quite
Yeah,
considerably over the last, I would actually say the last 10 years even, it's rapidly
you're right.
changed. So I know you're aware of that. Does that make a difference for the leadership? Has that made a difference in the way they take care of their teams and how they associate and communicate with their higher levels of management?
It really did. And you're right. 10 years, 15 years, I don't know. But COVID became a huge stopgap for company movement because now suddenly, not even with a blinker, it was like one day we're doing this, the next day we're not. And they had to pivot so fast that I don't, and we saw this a lot with the school system really trying to grapple with how do we accomplish what we've been accomplishing up to this point, given the implications of everything's changing now. But some companies did really well with this and others did not. And it really embraced it, necessitated a new questioning of creativity. How do we continue to advance given the fact that we can't do anything like we've ever done it before? And some people embrace that and found new avenues of connection and communication and creativity, and others just couldn't adapt it. They could not rise to the level of the challenge that was given to them, and they suffered for it. I think thankfully we're well beyond that now.
Good.
I think so. Who knows what's coming next? Because there's always potential for something.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure that most people are not really wanting to think back to, good Lord, that was just 4 or 5 years ago
I
now.
knew it was, and that's what I mean by how rapid things have changed.
Yeah,
And honestly, as we know, it's changing again in the political world, in the governments, in the countries. It's all changing again. We know it. We're all very aware of it. And we don't know what's coming next. So I'm thinking companies need people like you to help drive the bus, if you will, or the ship, if you will, to
yeah,
try to guide the leaders to know. So perhaps they don't know the full direction, but they have the mission of the company, as you said. And to your
exactly.
point, now you can help the leaders with their teams and guide through some more turbulent times. Because I'm thinking they're coming no matter what company you're in. Would
They
that
really
make
are.
sense?
They really are. And to be honest, the thing that I'm sensing or seeing the most in companies right now, two things. Talent acquisition, they're really having a hard time finding the right people.
Can I
And
stop you there? Why is that? Do you know? Or
I think it has to do with the second point I'm going to make. This so talent acquisition, but then the other thing is retention. Not only can they not keep the right talent, but they can't find new talent either because there's this big shift going on as far as the quit culture, right? We heard about the quit culture and
no?
people just they had no loyalty towards the place that they had been working. And so it wasn't even a 2 week notice. Now it's just, hey, I quit because I found a better deal across town, or someone's going to give me more money to do less work, or someone's going to give me more money and let me stay at home. And so we've lost this element of loyalty. And so people are leaving faster. And then that's making it harder for companies to find great talent. And then they don't even know that they have to fight to keep that great talent. They think these people are just here and they're not saying that anything is wrong. So I'm just going to assume that everything's great, not knowing that these people are out there looking for a better job somewhere else or someone that's going to pay them more money. So it's a catch 22. I'm dealing with this all the time with companies that are like, I just lost someone else. How do I? And it took us so much to find great people.
That is, so I'm thinking also part of it may have been the culture of the companies before. We all worked for companies for a very long time. That was the norm. And then it changed to you worked for a few years. Now I can remember, I'm dating myself, when resumes, you didn't want to show a lot of blank. You wanted to
Nope.
make sure you could show longevity and experience and everything, and that you were committed to the company. So even if you
Exactly.
applied for a new job, it was extremely important. In fact, one of the questions was, why did you leave? And if you didn't
Exactly.
have a good enough reason, boy, that made a difference, didn't it?
It does.
So the company hiring the employee coming from another company isn't asking those questions. They're just saying, okay, we got a great employee, we're moving on.
Yep.
And the norm of being there a long time is not the same. And in fact, moving from company to company, perhaps they're looking at that as experience now. Would that
Yes,
make
for
sense? I'm
100%.
not
You're
saying it's
exactly
the
right.
employee's fault or the business owner's fault, but I can see the trend changed.
Yes, you're exactly right. It has a lot more to do right now with company culture than almost any other thing. People want to know that they're part of something that they care about who you are as a person. They care about what matters to you, and vice versa. They want to know that the values that the company values are what the people value, the people that work there, the people that employ the place or make it move forward. And so there's a big shift in values that needs to happen. And honestly, when I bring up this issue of values, and it's another game I have when we talk through values, because most people have no idea what they value. When
That's,
push comes to shove, people are like, I value money, I value my family,
yeah.
but they don't know why. They don't, what else? There's so many things that you can value. So, what really matters to you and what really matters to the company? And if you can find synchronicity there or alignment, wouldn't it make sense if you would work for a place that valued some of the similar things that you value? Now you're just moving everything forward together.
And perhaps when you're coming in, Kevin, I'm thinking that you're actually, this is the obvious part, you're bringing that to light and saying, this is what the company values, this is what you value. Here's their mission statement. How do you feel about the mission
Right.
statement? You're putting it together and you're teaching the leaders how to maintain and communicate with their employees. This is how I'm seeing it from the
Yeah.
outside in. And then the employees are saying, oh, they do value me. Perhaps both sides haven't known. And that's
Right.
why you're important in that equation,
A
kind of
hundred percent.
a mediator in the middle.
Yeah, 100%. And let me just give you a good example about
Sure.
this. I was working through this with one of my coaching clients just last week. And they're looking for a position. They got to hire. They're trying to fill this position. And he said this to me. He said, I feel like I can analyze people pretty well from a conversation. And I said, that's great, my friend. But how do you know? And he was really stuck on that idea of like certainty and surety and extreme confidence. When you're hiring someone, you want to be 100% sure that the decision you're about to make is the exact right decision. And so I told him this. I said, why don't we do this? In your next interview with the guy before you hire him, why don't you take your values? Let's just say you have 4 company values and your mission statement, and you put those into an AI processor like ChatGPT, and you ask ChatGPT to come up with 10 questions that you can ask a potential hiree to discover if those values that are for your company have alignment with this potential person, and see if that will reveal to you if he is in alignment with your company. He was like, this is genius. I've never thought of this before. Because
I'm thinking
honestly, here's
it's
the thing.
genius, Kevin.
Seriously. But here's the thing. Like if you say our company values integrity, you can't sit down across from someone and say, do you value integrity? Well, of course they're going to say yes.
But do
You've
they
got to
know
be
what
able
it
to,
is?
yeah, but you've got to be able to create a question that helps them reveal if they do actually have integrity or if they don't. And you can't just say, tell me about how you had or portrayed integrity at your last job. You know what I mean? That doesn't work. This is a different setting than we've ever lived in before.
That's fantastic. I wouldn't have thought of that either. And now I'm thinking I'm going on ChatGPT. I want to know. I love the new AI. I
Oh,
do.
it's so fun.
I'm already a social media junkie, if you will. But I
Yeah,
love the AI. I even go on Meta on their AI. I know
sure.
Chat GTP and all of that, but I'll even go to Meta and just say, okay, Facebook, what do you think of this?
Exactly.
It's fun, but you know what? It has the intelligence to work with us, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Absolutely. And I love that idea. That's fantastic, truly. And now, so when you're working with the leaders, they're going to ask the right questions because they've learned what the right questions are from you. They're going to help with their teams grow. The company itself is going to benefit because now you're moving them all forward together. And perhaps they'll stay a lot longer because everybody's working together for a common
Right.
goal and mission. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
100%. Yes.
So that's really your job, right?
That's what I do. I honestly, my goal is to help, like I said in my bio, I try to help make the complex simple.
Sure.
We try to overcomplicate almost everything we're a part of because it feels complicated to us. So let me help you make it simple. Let's break it down into a position or a way that can be easy and light to get into and advance with it.
Perfect. Now, I want to ask you, I know you talk to corporations. Do you have courses that you do online that people can purchase from you or just through the corporations that you negotiate?
I have two courses. They are exclusively branded or geared towards churches. They wouldn't relate at all to a business. But yeah, in fact, one of them is being released as we speak. The other one is already out there, and it's a live course. We meet 5 days for once a month. And so this isn't something that you just buy and you go with at your own pace. No, it's a live thing.
Sure.
And then it's a phenomenal course, but it's just for churches.
So as you're working, and let's go back to the churches because that's wonderful. Of course, that's your background. So
Yeah.
you're working with the churches of all denominations or just in a certain field? I don't know.
I work with churches. I'll be honest with you, I work with churches all over the world.
Okay.
I was on a call this morning with a guy in Pakistan doing some work with him.
Oh, nice.
A couple weeks ago, I was consulting with a pastor in Nigeria. I've got some pastors in Uganda and Zimbabwe and Zambia. We're working all over the world with this kind of stuff because people are hungry everywhere. They're need. In fact, the people that are working in the Middle East and in Africa especially, they're begging for like healthy leadership development. They just have no connection to resources on that level. And so they need this kind of stuff. It's really desirable to them.
That's fantastic, Kevin. Well
Yeah.
done. So you have a company that goes globally all over the world. Do you travel yourself all over the world or just
Yes, I will. In fact, this place in Pakistan was asking me to do a conference for them, actually go over there and do it for them. I don't know if it's going to work out, but at the beginning of this year, January, my son and I traveled over to Uganda and we were doing some work over there. So yeah.
wow, you've really got a background with you and you're just what a noble cause, really. And so you've incorporated the noble cause into a business that makes sense for everybody, so it's a win-win. I like that.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, let me unpack the whole Uganda thing because it
Sure.
deserves its own explanation. I told you at the beginning that we're an adoptive family,
Yeah.
and so most of our family is comprised of adoptive kids. In the government world, when you're doing foster care and all that, the government actually has rules for that. And so they tell you that you're only allowed to have 6 children in your home. And they won't let you have any more from a fostering standpoint. You can't have more than six unless you meet some specific criteria and those kind of things. So we have five. And so we've always had this joke that we have a placeholder for a sixth. And 2 years ago, when I left my pastoral job, we started praying a prayer and we asked God, "Hey, we want a village." So we prayed that God would give us a village somewhere in the world that we could help transform. And I thought I had in my mind what that would look like and what that would be. And given our history with Latin America, I was really focused, oh, it's going to be somewhere in Latin America. I speak that language, these kind of things. Didn't happen. In fact, what did happen is right about a year ago from now, I met a guy on Facebook, of all places, a pastor in Uganda he helps, protects, whatever, 114 orphans on his own.
Goodness.
Yes. And he was an orphan as a kid. And so he just decided that, you know what, I'm not going to let this happen in my proximity. I'm going to help take care of these kids. And so for 12 years now, he has been taking kids in off the street, helping them get education, finding them a connection to food. And he's doing this out of his own pocket. And it's just an enormous undertaking, but he has no financial base. He has no structure to this. It's as bad as you think it is. And so I met this guy over Facebook and we started talking and he started telling me what was going on. And I did as much reconnaissance work as I could to verify that this was actually a true story.
Yeah.
And I was able to connect with many people that have been there, that has seen his place, and that can credibly vouch for his story. And so it prompted me and my son to actually go there. And
Oh,
so
this
we
is
flew over there
wonderful.
in January. We got to meet these kids. It blew me away. Like 100 of these kids, all 100 of them came out, rushed out, and just tackled me at one time. I
That's
got
great.
100 hugs in 1 minute. It just blew my mind. And so that prompted my wife and I to start our own 501(c)(3) nonprofit organization that we call Sparrow Village Initiatives to be able to raise money to help build these kids an orphanage in Uganda. And so that's what we're doing. This is our big, amazing undertaking project right now. In fact, I just got a week ago. I'm excited. I haven't really told anybody about this, but just a week ago, we got plans, drawings for this orphanage that we're going to build for them. Um,
Oh, Kevin,
this
that's
is
amazing.
this is amazing. This is a 9,400 square foot building. Right now, these kids, 100 kids, live in a house that is less than 900 square feet.
Oh my
It
goodness.
is unreal. To be able to see and experience this and
Oh,
know
I
that
just
this
got
is
the ears
happening
giving me
somewhere in our
tears.
world,
Wow.
it's awful.
Wow.
This is our passion
Yeah.
project that we get to be a part of, and I absolutely love it.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. Oh my goodness. You know what? If it's okay with you, we'll put that on here when you're
Oh, I
ready.
love
We'll
that.
put it on here. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. That is, and please say the pastor's name or the gentleman's name again, please.
His name is Sam.
Say, oh, it's just Sam? Okay.
Sam. Yep.
I'll make sure that the organizations there, your nonprofit with you and your wife that are doing
Yeah.
such amazing work. That's
Oh, it's incredible.
fantastic. I had
Yeah.
no idea. That's wonderful.
Yeah, the thing that really just ripped my heart out about this is that as I was talking to Sam and the many conversations, I probably talk with him 3 times a week now, just to encourage him. He feels like he's so alone. And I remember asking him one time, how bad is this situation that you're involved with here? And he said, Kevin, he said it really gets pretty bad when the kids haven't eaten for 4 days.
Oh, Kevin.
And that really just broke my heart to see these kids and know that we eat what every 4 hours or so. These kids, they get maybe one meal a day,
Oh,
and
boy.
then when they don't have money for food, it's just we're just going to wait and see where our food is going to come from next. It's really disheartening.
Maybe at some point, Kevin, we can discuss, perhaps we could have him on my show and
Oh,
he
I
can
love
give
that.
his story. That would be, I'm just
Wow.
about in tears. Maybe we could have him talk on our show. That would be,
He would love that.
that would just make me
And
just help.
when I went there, I got to take him out to dinner one night. We were staying at this very nice hotel that he had set up for us. And so I invited him over to our hotel for dinner one night just because I wanted to get to know him a little bit better and know his story. And we're having this amazing dinner that cost about $10, 10 American dollars. And he's sitting there and I knew what was going through his mind. He said, this dinner is so expensive. And I said, Sam, I said, this dinner is so cheap. I said, you have no idea how cheap this
Oh,
is from an American standpoint. And it was a phenomenal dinner. And he said, he told me this. I'm interviewing him, I'm asking him questions. And then I asked him back, I said, Sam, I said, what questions do you want to know of me? What do you know? What do you want to know?
yeah.
And he said this, his only question to me was this. He said, I just want to know that this isn't the only time you're ever going to come here. I want
Oh,
to know that
my.
you're going to come back and that you're going to see these kids again. And oh man, that broke my heart to
I
think
bet.
about that. I just want to know that I'm not alone. Oh, wow.
Wow, he must be just feeling like he's the lone soldier out there.
He feels invisible. He
Yeah.
feels like I'm doing all this and no one sees me.
Now, what about the surrounding organizations there? Is there such a thing as a support group for him? Is there anything that is helping him?
No, Uganda is a very it's a very corrupt country. There's a
Oh,
lot of corruption that happens in the government, a lot of stealing that goes on. And because of that, the economy is very depressed. It's very poor. Money is very difficult to come by. And so he feels like there's no public help for anything. There's no government assistance for kids like this. In fact, kids are a nuisance to them. They run around like dogs. And so they're just a nuisance. And so he said, I'm not going to tolerate this. I'm going to love on these kids the way they need to be loved, and
Yeah.
we're going to protect them. So we're going to help them do it.
That's incredible. And you've helped them.
Oh yeah.
Kevin, like that. And your son, I heard you say your son went with you. So what an education for him as well.
Oh yeah.
He must have the biggest heart in the world. He probably already did, but now he's,
Oh yeah.
and it does catch your heart, right?
It really does. It is infectious, and once it gets in you, it can't ever get out of you.
Oh my goodness. Kevin, I definitely I'm glad you shared that story with us,
Yeah.
first of all, and I'll make sure that all of that information's here. And we'll talk after this. We'll figure something out to
I love
see if
that.
we can't maybe get him on the show and spread his story, and
We
you'll
certainly
have
will.
all
He would absolutely be up for that. I love that story. Let me just tell you one more thing about it because I
go
really am
ahead.
excited about this
It's
piece.
your
But
floor, Kevin.
yeah, I've told you that we're going to build them an orphanage house that's going to house all of these kids. In fact, I told him, Sam, I said, make sure you tell the engineer, the architect, when they draw this, that we need it to house 200 kids because we know more are coming. And they already have some land. Someone bought them 3 acres of property that we can actually build this house on. And the plan is that we will build them a school there too, and a house for the director, and we'll put a well in because clean water is a very big problem over there.
Yeah,
But the first thing we're actually going to do is we're going to help them build a cash flow business. And so they can actually start generating their own income. They've
that's
never been
good.
able to do this before. And so right now we are raising, it's going to cost us, I think, $6,500 to put together a car wash. They came up with that themselves. We're going to wash cars. And I had no idea that was a thing that they would do over there, but it's a very popular business. And so we've already rented them a space next to a gas station. So a lot of high traffic. And within the next 2 months, we will have them with their own cash flow business to be able to help sustaining their own needs. They can buy their own food. This is the first time in their lives that they will be able to do this. And by the time this project is done, they will have 5 different cash flow businesses that will help them sustain themselves. And it's just unreal.
Now, how are they getting funding for this home? Can I ask you that, or is that private?
Yes, actually, the very reason we set up our own nonprofit organization
It's
here
through that.
is so that people here could donate with the confidence that this is going to a credible organization.
Okay.
And then it becomes our job to make sure that when we pass money over there, it does what it's supposed to do.
And gets funneled to the right person,
Exactly.
the right organizations. And
Exactly.
I think that has implemented and perhaps damaged some of the giving to other countries,
Exactly.
because as sensitive as it is, people had tried and gave everything they had, and it did go the wrong way in some areas. So I think you're absolutely 100% bang on to be able to say, okay, I know this man, I know the organization, my wife and I are heading it up, we know where it's going. That's
Yeah.
so important, Kevin.
Oh,
That's
yes.
And you have, I might say, the big guy on your side, right?
Oh, 100% we have God on our side. Yeah. There's favor all
Yeah,
over this.
yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness. I'm thrilled you came on today. Now, if anybody want to get a hold of you today, and I will have your information here, but what's the best way to get you, Kevin?
My email, or man, I'll even give you my cell phone number. I desperately just want people to get connected. I want to bring health and vitality to as many people as I meet. My email address is coaching@kevinelworth.live.
Okay,
And so I'm sure you have some show notes or something, and you
I'm
can
going to,
integrate
yeah.
that into your show notes. But that's the easiest way to get in touch with me. And then actually we don't have a website for our nonprofit organization, but there is a Facebook that we
Okay.
have a Facebook page that we communicate with our followers about what's going on there. How are the kids doing? What are some of their stories? It's just amazing to see what's happening there.
That's wonderful, Kevin. So all of this put together, I'm thrilled that you came on today. It was truly
Thank you.
my pleasure. And thank you for sharing your story. And we'll see if we can't go further here. But I have another question to ask you.
Tell me.
Will you come back on another episode and do that again with me? Because I certainly want to hear about the project and where you're going next.
Yes, you want some updates for sure.
I do. Would you come back and do that?
Yeah, I would. And honestly, let me see if I can reach out to Sam and line up a conversation with him. It would be so good.
I would be happy to do that. I think that's wonderful. So absolutely, I'm open to that as well. So let's see
Okay.
if we can't help him out. Other than that, I want you to come back. We're going to talk after this and we'll work it out to everybody. This is Kevin Elworth. He's going to be there answering all your questions, helping with your organizations and putting leadership together so that you can work with your staff, employees, and people together and make the company move forward. And
That's
from
good.
me, this is Teresa Aker from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. I hope you're having a great day. Please subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to talking to you all very soon. Bye-bye.